Hello and welcome to another game of Beyond All Reason. Today we are back on Supreme Isthmus and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. So normally I'll target a specific player and I'll go over a build order for them, but today I'm actually going to try my hands at casting a game. Now this is a relatively lower level lobby. You've got a few outliers such as No Air and Ephemera there. So this isn't going to be a completely professional gameplay, but I do believe it's going to be interesting nonetheless. Now to introduce the blue team, you're going to have Depp down in the GOC spawn. You're going to have King David, he's up here in the Geo spawn. You've got Rotahel in the Lake spawn. And then you've got your frontliners, Persephone and Uip. I really don't know how to say that. And in the back line, you've got Nullius and you've got the leader, No Air. Ironically, playing the air position. I will say I've seen him quite a few times play air, and he is very good. Very consistent, actually, with the time and attacks between 14 to 16 minutes. Alternatively, on the red team, you have got none other than Ephemera in the GOC position. You have got Aggressor in the Lake position. And your frontliners massively Uber, Vermi. On the Geo position, you've got Chronic Killer and RTS Major on the Longshore. And then the backliners are It That Kills and the air player Desty. Now this is a little bit different from what I usually do, as I've mentioned before, so I'm going to do the best I can to catch everything. If I don't catch something, then I shall pop it up in a little window at the top, but hopefully I will get everything. So to start off with, I believe both players have received transports from the air on the coast here. Looks like No Air is going to be building his transports a little bit later. Normally the best course of action is to produce transport straight away. That allows this player here to get his commander over to claim the island, and that allows this player here to claim that island. But not only that, but these players here will often drop their commander off here and build the lab there. It just it saves quite a lot of time ferrying the commander to and from, as well as construction bots over to make the construction turrets. The front line is a little bit static at the minute. Sometimes you'll see a player go for this mechs into a bot lab and have their team supply them with a bit of wind. It allows them to get Lazarus out early and to eat up all these rocks. If I was to select this construction bot here, you can see there is a lot of metal in the middle up for grabs. It's not the greatest trade with the pawns there. I can see why you would want to jump on the commander, potentially to get rid of the dragon's claw, but this commander can be... Oh, degunned his friendly units there. It's unfortunate. Maybe a little bit of lag or delay. But this construction is going to be able to heal this commander up nicely without a problem. A little bit of a LLT battle there. Ephemera is doing nicely. He's out onto the ocean. He's got a naval lab up. The same cannot be said for the purple player. In fact, he's gone hovers. And he's gone for some seekers. Now this can certainly be a decent play. If you can get some seekers around the back, you can do quite a bit of damage. This naval player here, normally you would see an LLT there. That's just to stop any sort of seekers coming around. Or occasionally this player would usually go for a bot lab and they can sneak ticks up down the side. Alternatively, any of these players can sneak ticks down. It just stops any sort of leaks from dealing too much damage. He's actually going to get 3 seekers through here, so he's got massive amounts of leverage with these, taking out these mexes here. That's quite a serious blow to the economy here of RTS Major. On the other hand, GG has not built an LLT either. Hopefully he doesn't end up with any run bys. A lot of people will skip it because the LTs at the start do require quite a bit of energy. If you do skip it, then you can get away with quite a bit more metal-wise. You don't quite need that much energy, but it's always best to be safe than sorry. Okay, so we're at the 5-minute mark now. This is the sort of point where you should see the teams having T2 up from their tech players. It doesn't look like those two players have got it up. This player is currently producing his T2. It's a little bit behind schedule. This player is producing T2. He still is not taking his Geo. Okay, that's probably something that I would recommend taking relatively early on. You certainly have the metal for it once you've got the mexes up and you take it early. This construction turret could also be due with being placed a little bit closer to the Geo, and that just allows it to hit these metal extractors as well. You can place it down to the left of the Geo and you can still produce the Geo no problem without blocking it. This player's only just going to start taking back his mexes. That's quite a major hit for him actually. Relying on only the 4 naval mexes you get with C. It can be very rough. He has managed to take the island with his commander, which is quite nice. So we did get the transport in the end. But again, having these 3 here is going to be vital if he wants to continue. A single lone bomber coming around is going to try and disrupt Ephemera. Thankfully, there was a few fighters made by the air player. In fact, he's still got his T1 lab. A lot of times players will eat the T1 lab and they'll go into, say, a fusion and then go straight into T2. I believe no air. Yep. So no air's eaten up his lab. He's turned it into windmills. I'd expect to see him sack his commander once he starts running out of metal. But that just allows him to sort of jumpstart his economy. Although it does make you vulnerable. As you can see there, the tech player is going to eat his... blow his commander and eat it for the T2 lab. Still a little bit late. In fact, it's up to 7 minutes now, so that's very, very late. This player here. Starlight Rush. I would not recommend a Starlight Rush until you've got at least the advanced Geo up. Starlights require 1,000 energy per shot. When you're only producing... Just double check that it's right. A lot of the times the replays are a bit bugged. So he's producing quite a bit of energy, but I believe that's because his team's overflowing to him. He's actually producing 1.6. So that's not too bad, I guess, but it's still, you want the advanced Geo up before you start making Starlights. So the state of the game. This player is still on hovers. I think you should transition out of these at some point. I suppose once you've got the T2 down, then you can maybe go into a naval yard. And I believe Rotahel has noticed this and decided to hop into the sea himself and give this player a hand. Hovs are great for early game harassment. They're actually very good if you, say, don't get a hold of a transport from this player. You can build a hovercraft construction vehicle. While very expensive, it does allow you to try and contest this a little bit. Ephemera is doing fantastic. In fact, he's managed to claim his island. He's got his T2 metal extractors queued, as well as his Geo. And he's going to be able to control the sea quite well. It's simply because of the income. You can see on the side here, Ephemera's got 27 metal income, whereas GG's only got 25. It may seem very minor, but that will add up over time, especially since now that he's got a T2 constructor, he's going to be able to upgrade more mexes on the land than this player here. The front line is still going as it is. We've got some Dragon's Claws coming up here. I very much like the Dragon Claws. I think if you're going to build static, I think the Dragon's Claws and the Dragon's Maw is definitely the way to go. While they're in this sort of state here, they do take reduced damage by quite a bit. I believe it's 75% reduced damage. Although they did recently get nerfed, so I may be wrong about that. If you know what the damage reduction is, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Or if you have any other pointers or tips. Agitate's coming up. While that is going to be able to put some damage on here over time, those of you who have seen previous videos know that I'm not a massive fan of these. I feel like they're just way too expensive for what they do at 1300. Well, actually, have they not seen this? They have not. Okay, they've got jammers up. Ooh, commander goes down there. I think he stepped a bit too close to the dragon's claws. Walked a little bit too forward there. I would like to see a radar from these players, though. Unfortunately, I don't think they've got any idea about this. But if they was to just mass units and push, they wouldn't have too many problems. Go around these dragon claws, so maybe push up this way. Let's have a look at the eco players. The tech players, sorry. This player's going to go straight into an advanced fusion. I don't know whether he's got the metal for that, even with the advanced bot lab. It's much more efficient to go into a few fusion reactors first, simply because you get the payback straight away. So it's not quite as efficient. It's not anywhere near as efficient, but it only requires 4,300 metal. As you can see there, he's almost got enough metal for one. So if he was to place it down now, he would be able to make it without any stalls whatsoever. But then as soon as that's up, you can take advantage of that by making some advanced energy converters, and you can immediately start paying you back. Whereas if you go straight into an APHIS, you're going to be sat there for another 6 minutes. Doing absolutely nothing. And then as soon as you run out of metal as well, you're going to completely and utterly stall. This player here, building a fusion reactor, that's exactly what I mean by the better choice in that situation. You can potentially eat up the T2 lab. He is trying to get Sheldons out at the same time. I would prioritize one over the other. So stop building this Sheldon, make sure you get this up. So if you're splitting your resources, then both of them are just going to come up at a much later time. Whereas if you were to stop building this, you could get this out first, and then you'd have a much quicker time building Sheldons. The orange player, despite being ganged up on, has managed to take the ocean back. This player's actually gone for tidal generators. I wouldn't really recommend this. I would much prefer you to upgrade your geo. The tidal generators are actually not the most efficient. They do give you 21, and that is consistent for this map, but they also require 90 mil, and that works out to be about as efficient as a fusion reactor, but they will chain react if hit, unfortunately. So spacing that out is a decent option. Actually, Ephemera has just gone through with his commander, so he's managed to take full control of the sea. He's walked his commander up, he's degunned the geo, he's managed to take out the enemy commander, and he has full reign of that now. That's massive damage. That's essentially taking a player out of the game. So it's looking very one-sided as of right now. No Air has his 2 fusion reactors up. He's actually got a fantastic economy going here. In fact, he's outdoing his tech player by quite a bit. He has double the economy. Okay, his tech player's gone straight into advanced fusion again. So Noah's doing fantastically here, but the question is, can he bring his team back? Because they are currently on the back foot with one player gone, both seas completely under their control. Though having said that, Rotorhill is producing units here. I'm not a massive fan of the Armada frigates. They just do not trade very well against the Riptides. If you're going to go for Armada, I would suggest the Corsairs. They're a little bit better. They're a bit more damage for your buck, as well as health. And as well as speed, actually. So if you look at 67 speed, while the frigates are a little bit faster, they do not have anywhere near as much range. And so you can't really abuse that very much. Whereas if you take a look at Cortex... Oh, he's going into T2. That is going to spell trouble. T2, the actual destroyer is 62 speed, so you can certainly take advantage of that. But they trade very well against Riptides when kiting. It doesn't have too much space to kite here, so I can sort of understand it, but the frigates just do not trade very well at all. These Starlights have made it onto the front line. I believe they've been handed over to... They have not been. They have been handed over to the eco player at the minute, so he's going to be using up the energy there. I don't think he's got too much energy to sustain it. He's only making 400 energy a second, which is going to be rough to try and sustain 2 Starlights. I believe he does have a... There we go. Okay, his APHIS has just come up. That's fine then. He's going to have plenty of energy to fund those Starlights now. That's something you do have to be very wary of when you're producing starlights, that you can actually fund them. A couple of sprinters here along the side. This is just to try and stop Ephemera from producing in fact, he's going straight into salamanders now. I'd like to see him maybe bring him up and around. There are quite a few mines here. I don't know whether he's noticed that. No, I don't believe he has. Although I can see a unit here. But that's just that building that. I believe the mine layers are actually invisible. Yes, stealthy mine layer. So they actually do not show up on radar. So you do need to get line of sight. I do like the anti-air turrets coming up though. A lot of the times players will have their air wall up and down here. And if you can get anti-air in range of it, you can actually just shred the air wall for free. If this player is not paying attention. Rotahel has actually managed to push through here. Don't know whether he sees that commander. Does he see that commander? Not quite. Okay, so the sonar range is actually a little bit smaller than the radar range. You can see that's the vision range, sorry. And then you've got the sonar range, which is the dotted line there. Massive engagement here. The Brimstone ships are absolutely fantastic. But I think he might just have a bit too much here for this player to handle. Going T2 was a little bit greedy. I wouldn't recommend going T2 if the enemy is still in the sea. Simply because it is very expensive. 3,100 metal compared to the usual, I believe it's 2,100? 2,900, sorry. So it's only a little bit more metal, but at the same time, you're so metal reliant when you're using ships that it's much better to kill the enemy off first and then use the reclaim to get that up. On cue, no air coming in with a 16-minute bombing run. I believe he's going to have bombers with this. Yep, the bombers are lagging behind slightly. That's fine. So he's going to go in with the fighters first just to clear the way, and he's going to bring the bombers in afterwards. So Ephemera is going in with salamanders, but I believe he may have realised that his airplay is slightly behind. So he's actually gone into seaplanes himself. So he's got a load of seaplane fighters up. I'd like to see them come in and maybe sort of protect against these fighters coming in. Although seaplane fighters are considered tier 1.5, they do not stack up very well against T2 fighters, unfortunately. Ephemera's actually going to push his commander up as well. Wonder if he's going to notice that there are mines there. I suppose he'll notice as soon as one unit goes over them. Are they... Oh, they're not even built. Okay. That's just cute. That's my bad. Okay, so the bombing run's coming in now. Let's see how much damage. Ephemera still has not brought him down. I believe he's busy microing up here. So I'd like to see that coming down. Radar plane going in first. The radar planes have quite a bit more health than the fighters, so they can tank up a few more shots. And the bombs are going to be going away. Can he take this player out though? That's the main thing. This player has 3 T2 anti-flak cannons, so I don't think he's going to be able to get the bombs off in time. Not quite enough, not quite enough. He does manage to get rid of the build power, but I would like to see him maybe split and maybe take out the advanced energy converters with that, rather than going for the Aphis there, because it's a little bit of a lost cause. The salamanders, on the other hand, coming straight in and dealing plenty of damage. These wind turbines are in rows of 2, while they are next to each other. In rows of 2, they will not chain react. Another thing you do is highlight them, drag out the box, and then press, I believe it's Z once, to space them out once, and that way they will not chain react. But if you have them like this, when a couple of these go, they will completely and utterly chain react. Fantastic damage though, taking out the energy converters. I think Ephemera is going to try and get some more damage in with his commander there. He can't go through the front because of the pit bulls. Pit bulls do fantastically with comms, and he's going to lose his comm to that. This is pulling a massive amount from the front line though, as well as stopping the back line from ecoing and making him produce units. This is massive because it allows your player, which is currently recovering, a little bit of breathing room so he doesn't fall too far behind. And in fact, that amphibious complex that he had, it's It's actually going to make into a T2 ship lab. It's going to upgrade his mexes that are in the ocean. Then he's going to go straight into a Black Hydra. Now, while he's doing this, he's going to make a land economy. While it's tempting to make, say, a naval economy in the side, or say down here, land economy is just a bit more efficient. Now, that previous attack by Rotor has actually given this player time to get in and get T2 out on the water. Now, he has managed to get a land economy going, so the fusion reactor, he's going to go into an advanced energy converter, which is nice, but he's going to be producing these T2 Buccaneers, and that's, I'm assuming, to try and stop any sort of sub play. So when you're behind in the ocean, a lot of times it is nice to get subs out because they counter the frigates quite well. Obviously, these have depth charges and they actually deal fantastic against subs. Would like to see them sort of bunch up rather than queuing it round. I would like to see them bunch up with these units, just so that you can deal with one final blow. They can be quite easy to deal with on their own, so that's something to watch out for. Black Hydra is almost done, and that's going to be causing a lot of pain and grief to these players here. But having said that, they are managing to take the other ocean back. Combined efforts of Rotor Shell and the player down here, Depp. So they've got T2 out. I would like to see him maybe produce a constructor. Oh, he's got a constructor up. I'd like to see the constructor come up and potentially claim some of these mexes. Potentially that one. And then these once he pushes through. And the Black Hydra is finished. So that's now going to completely and utterly ruin these players' days. I believe you need 3 of the keepers in order to protect from it. So if you've got 2 down, 2 up, then they will eventually go through and, well, do this. But if you've got 3 of them up, then when one falls, the other one will come back up. And it'll just keep you safe. So only one Black Hydra cannot go through them. That's that player down. Don't know whether he sees... You can see the explosions through the fog of war, as well as the dead buildings. So as you can see there, you can see the windmills going up. So I'd like to see him change his attention over here. Alternatively, this player should potentially try and go for his own Black Hydra, maybe in a little bit. But it's a case of needing to win the water first. Plenty of seaplane fighters up, so Ephemera's ready if no air tries to come in with torpedo bombers. That would be one way for them to come back into this game. Although having said that, they're not actually that far behind. So if you look in the top right hand corner, you can see the the red team is producing 29k, so 28.9k energy. There you go, 29k. Whereas the blue team is actually producing 32k. So the blue team is producing more resources even with a player down. And that's primarily because no air has managed to explode his economy there, going up to an APHIS. I believe he's reclaiming his fusion reactors, yep. And this player here has managed to get up to 4 APHISes, whereas on the opposite side, he's only got 2. He is producing units. I'm not quite sure why he's producing those units. Vanguard does seem like it maybe isn't the best thing to be producing here. And there goes that player there. That's another thing you need to worry about if you're going to produce all of your stuff so close to land. I mean, he had his construction turrets here, so you could well have placed the APHIS over here and been a little bit safer, but unfortunately didn't. So now that they've got this back, I would like to see this player go into either some cruise missile ships, or go into the Black Hydra eventually. I believe this player is trying to take these. One thing you can do with these is you can actually just build a torpedo launcher here, and that will get rid of that mail extractor for you if you don't have anything to actually take it out. The Starlight's still on the front line. They've been repaired up, but at this point when they're shooting ticks, they're just sort of wasting energy, so that's something you need to be wary of. All of the anti-nukes are up. even though it's a bit late now to be building it. A nuke rush could come out by about the 15-minute mark. Would like to see him also target. Yep, he's going to auto target this player up here, and he's going to start taking him up. Would also like to see him take out the Geo. Does he know that the Brood's there? He does know that the Brood's been built, so that's something that he needs to be thinking about targeting as well. But these players here have managed to take the C back. This player is going to go into platypuses, and that's the frontliner. Actually building a aphis on the front line as well. I'm not sure about that one. Normally, a lot of the times what will happen is they'll chain construction turrets back here and build the aphis back here. Just leaves it a little bit more protected, whereas if you're building it on the front line, when these players had the ocean, they could literally just come up and take it out. It also makes it a little less susceptible to amphibious units coming up through here, such as marauders. Now the platypuses, they are relatively cheap. They are built in the T2, you can see there. They do have a light anti-air attack, and they have a light laser attack as well. But the reason they're built is because they're amphibious. So they're not the best unit in the game, but because they can traverse over water, you can certainly catch, say, this player off guard here, if he was to bring them in here. Therma has managed to complete his land economy. He's going up to his second fusion reactor now. APHIS, sorry, advanced fusion reactor. Still producing units. Still producing the seaplane fighters. In fact, I don't believe he's aware that Nowhere has no fighters up. I believe he thinks Nowhere is just keeping the fighters away from his anti-air in the sea here. So if he was to build some bombers now, he would have a fair game actually taking these players out. I believe these are torpedo bombers from this. Yep. So this player's produced torpedo bombers. He's going to try and help take the ocean back. Whereas this player's actually gone for the rolling mines. Now, the tumbleweeds are amphibious, so they do go underwater. And I believe they do hit ships. One thing I will say is they're actually quite difficult to kill. They don't have the most amount of health, but because they're amphibious and they're underwater, battleships can't hit them, the messengers can't really hit them. You need to produce the buccaneers, the cruisers. Either that or the actual torpedo. Yeah, there we go. The torpedo launchers. They can deal with them quite well. Well, the torpedo launchers do sometimes struggle to hit these. In fact, oh, what's this? A few platypuses actually made it through from the green player. They've come straight through here. And they've dealt plenty of damage. I would like to have seen them go up there. Did he see that at all? So he has seen that's there. I believe that's what he's going to target on this run here. Let's see if Vermi can actually prevent this. But what I was saying was the buccaneers, so the cruisers, actually do not have very much torpedo range whatsoever. So if you have enough tumbleweeds, can overwhelm them very quickly. We'd like to see him come up and take these advanced energy converters out. Okay, he's going to go next to him and take him out. He's not targeting them at all. Okay. So, I mean, if you right-click the fusion reactors there, the platypuses will go up and they'll stop and shoot once they're in range. But there's an option in the settings menu, which I would very much consider a lot of people should actually set target as default. So that replaces your attack command with the actual target command. So when you attack, say I was to select this Razorback and click there, the Razorback would move into range and it would immediately start shooting this and it would stop where it is. Whereas with that command on, like I've just showed you, if I select the Razorback and tell it to walk over here and then select the fusion reactor, it will continue walking, but it will make the fusion reactor its primary target if it's in range. Now there is a hotkey to do that, but it just sort of negates you having to use the hotkey. This is a fantastic idea, actually, that I did not think about. Torpedo gunships are really good for taking these out because the rolling balls can't hit air, whereas the torpedo gunships can hit them. And that negates any sort of issues you have with range. Now the front line for the red team was pushed through here. You got some mammoths, which I expect were part of the cause, as well as some Sheldons. I believe there was a Sheldon ball. So that's something that these players have got to deal with. I would like to see this player come online. He's producing sprinters right now. Sprinters are not particularly amazing units. The only real thing they're good for is running around enemies and actually hitting the weak, softer underbellies. But in this situation, I would much prefer to see other units. Snipers are pretty good. He's got a few of them here. Hounds can be pretty good, but he's got enough economy where you can just go up to T3, to be honest with you. And then start pushing with T3. Ephemera starting to get T3 out himself. He's gone for Marauders. He's going to push those Marauders up here. Because he's actually targeting the mines up here, so I'm assuming he's seen them. Or at least saw them being produced. One other thing you can do is actually produce a Juno. So if you build a Juno, which is, it's in the T1. Well, I can find a T1 constructor. I doubt there'll be too many of them left. There it is there, Juno. Anti-radar, jammer, and minefield. So you can actually take out mines with the Juno. It's got a very large explosion radius, so it'll take all of those mines out at once. And that just provides a little bit of safety for your Marauders pushing in. A couple of reclaim bots here. Absolutely fantastic. So when you're making a big push like this, it's important that you get the reclaim and not your opponent. If I select those constructors again, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So right now there's 15,000 metal in this reclaim area here. Now, if you do not have Lazarus or any sort of reclaim bot following your army in and eating up the metal behind you, then if the enemy manages to push you away like they've done here, they're going to have access to all of this metal, which is a massive influx into the economy. And it can really swing the tide. Ooh, Ephemera's managed to find the purple player there. I believe this was unscouted until just now when that push came through and got vision of it. So he's going to be targeting that down. It's going to do a considerable amount of damage. But unfortunately right now it's on No Air and Nullius to carry this game. While these players do have the C, and he's got his own Black Hydra out, actually punishing these players for not producing the Wardens or to trying to take the ocean back. Very good run with his commander up here. Although he's going to die to a Razorback. I don't believe he's going to get in range to take that out. Would like to see that commander cloak, to be honest with you. It's maybe all for naught. Although having said that, they are pushing back quite well. They've eliminated one player from the front here, as well as the ocean player. The sea player has been eliminated for a little while. He's just sort of giving resources back to his allies. But this is going to be quite a nasty push. So we set up a few hovercraft places here, and you can actually see the Juno coming in there, getting rid of all the mines. That's absolutely fucking beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. I love to see that. But he's going to go in with the bird eaters because he knows that No Air is one of the main problems. No Air actually has all of his bombers down here, unfortunately. So it's just going to be fighters. The Marauders do have a little bit of anti-air themselves, but the bird eaters are going to be much better for that, and you can see them bringing the fighters in as well. And that's just going to prevent No Air from bringing in any sort of bombers or any sort of gunships to stop the Marauder push. At the same time, those bombers are being forced back, so he's going to... Whereas he was trying to bring the bombers down here and say, go for an actual bombing run, he's having to bring them back to try and save them, but it's all for nothing at this point. It's a little bit too much for him to handle. While No Air still won the air battle, even after going 2v1, unfortunately he did not have enough to protect him from the ground. Now the reason he's gone into hovers and gone into the goons is simply to try and get damage through to this player. So he was pretty confident that there was going to be an answer for the I've forgotten the name of them now, Marauders. He's pretty confident there was going to be an answer for the Marauders, whether it's bombers or anything, but trying to deal with the goons going past you while you're dealing with the Marauders can be quite difficult, because the snipers here are not particularly great at dealing with goons. So that's just something to put out. Normally people will use ticks to try and go past it, but obviously he does not have access to a land economy. This player's actually produced 2 Black Hydras, which this is overkill. So this is a trap that quite a few people fall into. So produce the first Black Hydra and then go straight into either a T3 gantry and produce some amphibious units. Alternatively, you can go into what Ephemery went into, so that's the seaplane. But producing 2 is a little bit overkill. Unfortunately, Wardens are just cheaper. If these players started building Wardens, they're going to build up Wardens much before you're going to be able to finish off another Black Hydra. You can actually see the cataphracts coming out here. They've been remodeled. They look fantastic. So they're hovercraft, so they can come over and they can contest the ocean. They actually trade with Black Hydras quite well. The only thing that I will say is they do not trade very well against the... Oh, he's eating his T2 lab. So the T2 battleships are very good at kiting these and just dealing massive amounts of damage. It's no contest. One thing I will say is they are very good against, say, torpedo launchers or somebody going lots of subs, because subs cannot hit hover whatsoever. So that's something to look at. A Juggernaut is cool and it's massive, but I don't think it's going to stand up to all of these snipers at once. I mean, it does have a lot of health, but that is a lot of snipers. He's got welders in the front as well. It's really all up to this player now. There isn't really anything else this team can do. He really needs to slap down a T3 lab. Either that or start handing stuff off to his allies. So I really don't see him progressing otherwise. There were some orders coming in here. They didn't do too much. Looks like No Air handed off his bombers, but they're just going to get completely and utterly shredded. Looks like Ephemera's going straight into economy. He's going to go full economy just to progress the advantage that they've got. The snipers are going to cloak and come around here. Wow, that's a lot of snipers cloaked. That is expensive. That is very expensive. Costs them 5,000 energy a second, which, I mean, I guess he can spare it, but at the same time, I would really like to see him go up to T3. Although, having said that, again, against all these players, it is very, very difficult. These snipers in range? They are in range. It looks like he may need to target them. Yeah, he's going to have to target it. There we go. See, look at that. Massive amounts of damage. That's what's something that the snipers excel at, dealing with large single targets like that. Very good against T3. It looks like he did not move the Black Hydras back, so they fell victim to these cataphracts, the hovercrafts, T3 hovercrafts. They do have depth charges, I believe, so these Shivas are not going to have a good time against them. I don't believe the Shivas can shoot underwater either, so those hovercrafts are going to come around up there. While these Shivas have made landfall, the rest of them are going to be hit by torpedoes, and there are 3 Razorbacks here to deal with them. So that's not going to do anything, unfortunately. And he's not straying from this at all. He's just going to continue. At this point, Ephemera has just mapped out all the energy converters he needs. And I think it is a little bit too late. There's the Overseers coming up now. Would like to have seen them earlier when the Black Hydras were coming out. Don't think there's much need for them there. So Overseers only block plasma, so that's only really things such as the Shivas, the Black Hydras. They don't stop bombers or anything. They won't stop any sort of snipers, lasers or anything. So that's something to bear in mind. They're also quite expensive, actually. 3,200 metal for something is... it's nothing to really shake a stick at. That is a lot of metal. Especially 55,000 energy as well. Though energy is a little bit easier to come by. So it feels like just about every player on this team has a Thor, or at least a T3 unit at this point. And I would like to see him maybe collapse on these players. Although with the hovers coming up, I think there really is nothing that the blue team can do now. It's going to hold out for dear life, but there has to be a point where you call it. Now, some things of note. I believe Ephemera played absolutely fantastically here. Unfortunately, was up against a relatively lower skilled player on the sea, so he did have quite a bit of control there. The player didn't claim the island, which is unfortunate. I think this player here did actually quite well. I believe he should have gone into T3 a bit earlier and maybe stopped sort of ecoing quite so much earlier on. It can be tempting to just build another Aphis and then think, oh, try and squeeze one more in, but you want to be stopping and actually helping your team at the point where they're being pushed. So that's much more, it's much more effective to have your teammates alive here than have, say, an extra 2 Aphises. But again, that's something to sort of keep in mind. It's not the easiest thing to decide as well when to stop making eco and actually go into units. So there's that. I'm going for mass tidal generator here. That's perfectly fine. Once Ephemera's got the ocean, it's got the build power, so you might as well use it rather than say wasting it sitting around. I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit until they decide to give up, because this is a lost game. I expect this will be the point here with 2 Thors knocking on the front door and a Thor going around the other side, although he's got snipers to deal with that. Just go up to for 6 times a little bit. There we go. I believe that was the last commander actually that went down. Yeah, I believe that was the last commander that went down. Okay, let's take a quick look at the graphs. I will pause it when the graphs come up. So as you can see there, Ephemera, pretty much everything. And then Road to Hell actually destroying allied units. It's a little bit of an odd one. Alright, so team stats. Metal used, you can see the eco player right the way up there. Energy used, eco player again. He did eco very well, whereas he was a little bit slow at the start, but he did get off to a fantastic end. But you definitely need to be thinking about stopping producing eco a little bit sooner. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'm actually going to be releasing a spotlight video on Ephemera's build from the GOC. So if you're interested in that, I will link it at the end of the video. If not, then it's not been released yet. But when I do release it, it'll be in a few days maybe. I shall link it at the end of the video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.